I'd been waiting for weeks. Ever since my sister had announced her engagement, I'd been counting down the days, imagining the wedding dress, the venue, the music, and, of course, the guest list. I was sure I'd be there. After all, I'm her sister, right? But when the invitation arrived, it didn't have my name on it. I felt a cold wave of confusion hit me when I saw the envelope. It was thin, elegant, just like you'd expect from a wedding invitation. But when I opened it, there was nothing but a printed card with names of family and friends. No mention of me. I stared at it for a while, trying to understand. Was it a mistake? I double-checked, but no. No name, no mention of my children either. Just a space, like I didn't even exist. I tried to rationalize it. Maybe there had been a mix-up. But then my phone rang. It was her. "Hey sis, I just wanted to let you know about the wedding," she said, her voice all cheery like she hadn't just torn my heart out. I held my breath, unsure of what to say. "I got the invitation, but I didn't see my name on it." "Oh," she hesitated, then cleared her throat. "Yeah, I was going to talk to you about that. It's just, with your kids. I'm worried they might, ruin the vibe of the wedding." I was stunned, not sure if I'd heard her correctly. "Ruin the vibe?" She sighed. "I'm sorry, I know it's harsh, but you know how it is. We're doing a very formal event, and I just don't think your kids are, well, they're a bit much sometimes, I felt my chest tighten. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. She was telling me that my children, my flesh and blood, weren't welcome at her wedding. "I just don't want any drama," she added, as if her words could somehow soften the blow. I could feel the heat rising in my face. "So, because they're kids, they don't belong? Is that it?" "I didn't say that," she replied quickly. I thought it might be better this way. I really hope you understand." And just like that, it was done. The conversation ended with a few awkward words, but I didn't need her to explain further. It stung like nothing I'd ever felt before. My sister, the one I had always defended and supported, had just dismissed me and my children without so much as a second thought. But this was only the beginning. What happened next would shake everything I thought I knew about family, loyalty, and forgiveness. I hung up the phone, still holding the invitation in my hand, but it felt like a piece of paper from a stranger, not something I'd once felt so connected to. I stared at the empty space where my name should have been, trying to make sense of it. Was I overreacting? Maybe I was just being sensitive. But I didn't think I was. Not this time. The days that followed were a blur. I had to keep a brave face in front of my kids. They didn't know yet about the wedding snub, and I wasn't sure how to explain it. I told myself I'd figure it out later, but the more I thought about it, the more it gnawed at me. Then came the message. It was a text from my mom, completely out of the blue. "Hey, honey. I know you're upset about the wedding, but I think you should just let it go. You know how your sister is. She's always been a little particular about things. Don't make a big deal out of it, okay? It's her special day." I read the message over and over. It felt like she was brushing off my feelings, as if I was just being dramatic about the whole thing. My mom, the person who had always supported me, was now telling me to let it slide. To just accept it. The words stung, but I didn't reply right away. I was too angry to think clearly. That night, after the kids were in bed, I sat down with a glass of wine and texted her back. "Mom, I don't think you get it. She didn't just leave me off the guest list. She said my kids would ruin the wedding. I can't just pretend that's okay." I stared at the message, waiting for a response. But nothing came. I paced around the house, feeling the weight of it all. My own sister, my flesh and blood, had basically told me I wasn't welcome at her wedding because of my kids. And my mom, well, she was siding with her. Then, just as I was about to put my phone down, it buzzed. It was my sister. The message popped up in the most unexpected way. "I know you're upset. I didn't mean to hurt you. I need things to go perfectly. Maybe I was wrong. Maybe you and the kids can come after all, but it'll be really hard to make that work." It wasn't an apology. Not really. But it was a crack in the wall. She wasn't saying come, but she wasn't saying don't either. "I need to think about it more," she wrote. "I just don't want any stress on the day. And I really want you to understand where I'm coming from." I sat there, staring at the screen, unsure how to respond. She wasn't admitting that she'd messed up. She wasn't offering an apology. She was giving me hope? But was it real, or was she just trying to appease me? At that moment, I had no idea what to do next. Should I let it go, like my mom had suggested? Or should I stand my ground, demand an explanation, and push her to take responsibility? I wasn't sure, but I knew this was far from over. I spent the next few days replaying that conversation in my head. Should I press her? Should I just walk away? Part of me wanted to call her, to ask for a real explanation, but part of me was afraid of pushing too hard. What if I pushed her away entirely? What if I lost my sister forever over something like this? But then the phone rang. It was her again. "Hey," she said, her voice quieter this time. Not the usual upbeat tone, but a hesitant one. "I've been thinking about everything you said, and I want to explain. Can we talk?" I wasn't expecting her to call. I wasn't sure what I expected, but something about her tone made me hesitate. "Yeah, we can talk," I said, trying to keep my voice steady. "What's going on?" "I know I hurt you," she began, and for the first time, there was something resembling remorse in her voice. "I didn't mean to. I swear. It's just... I've been so stressed about this wedding, you have no idea. I've been trying to keep everything perfect, and I thought if I didn't include your kids, there wouldn't be any chaos." I clenched my jaw. Chaos? They're kids, not animals. They don't just create chaos. I know, she said quickly. "But remember last time? The family reunion? You can't deny things got a little out of hand. And then when the kids spilled juice on my dress and you didn't even apologize for it. That one hit harder than I expected." My face flushed. "They were kids, Marie. You can't expect them to be perfect. They're just learning how to behave in these situations." "I know," she said softly. But I was so embarrassed, and then I started to worry that it would happen again. I didn't want my wedding day to turn into a circus. I took a deep breath. She was trying to explain, I could hear that now, but it still hurt. It didn't feel like she was seeing my side of things. My kids were being judged for being kids. "I get that you want everything perfect," I said, keeping my tone calm, but it was a struggle. "But you're not just asking me to leave them at home, Marie. You're asking me to choose between my kids and you." She sighed deeply. I know it's a lot. I really didn't mean to make you feel like that. I guess I thought you'd be okay with it because, well, you've always been understanding." "Understanding?" I repeated. "Marie, I've always supported you. But this time, this is different. It's not just about being understanding. You've made it clear that you don't want me there if I'm bringing them along. That's not fair." She was silent for a moment. "I don't want you to feel left out, okay? I really don't. So, how about this? You and the kids come for the ceremony, but after the vows, maybe you can head out? You won't have to deal with the reception, and we can avoid any awkward moments." I stared at the phone. Was she serious? This was her solution? "Marie, you can't be serious. That's not a solution. You're basically telling me to show up just for the photo op and then leave. That's not what family is supposed to be about." "I just thought it might be easier for everyone," she said, her voice a little weaker now. "Maybe I should have talked to you sooner, but I didn't know how to handle it." I shook my head, though I knew she couldn't see me. "It's too late for that, Marie. You've already made your decision." I didn't want to hang up on her. I didn't want this to be the end, but I could feel the distance growing between us with every word. There was a heavy silence on the line before I finally spoke. "Maybe you should just focus on your wedding then. If you think it's better without me there, I'll respect that." My voice cracked slightly as I said it, but I quickly masked it with a forced calmness. "Good luck with everything." Before she could respond, I hung up. I didn't expect it to hit me so hard. The finality of it, the realization that my sister had chosen a day over family, felt like a punch in the gut. I stared at my phone for a long time, wondering if I'd made a mistake. But I knew deep down that I hadn't. It was her choice, and now I had to live with the consequences. The next few days were filled with a mixture of emotions: anger, sadness, frustration, but mostly confusion. I kept replaying everything in my head, trying to figure out how we had gotten to this point. I'd always thought my sister and I were close. We'd been through so much together, supported each other through breakups, heartbreaks, and even the deaths of our parents. But this felt like something I couldn't fix. I tried to keep my mind off the wedding. My kids needed me, and I didn't want them to see me upset, so I buried myself in the usual routine: school drop-offs, grocery shopping, work, and tried to ignore the fact that my sister was getting married without me. But then, just a few days before the wedding, I got a call from a number I didn't recognize. At first, I thought it was just a telemarketer, so I was about to hang up, but something told me to answer. "Hello?" I said, still distracted. "Hi, is this Laura?" My heart skipped. It was an unfamiliar voice, but something about it made me stop in my tracks. "Yeah, this is Laura. Who's this?" "This is Emma," the voice said. "I'm the wedding planner for your sister's wedding." I felt a sudden tightness in my chest. "Oh, hi. I know this is a little out of the blue, but I was wondering if we could talk about the guest list," Emma continued. "I'm in charge of finalizing everything, and I noticed something that might be a mix-up." I froze. "What do you mean?" "Well," Emma hesitated, "I was going over the names, and it seems that there was some confusion. Your name was actually on the original guest list, but it was accidentally left off the final version. Your sister asked me to reach out to you and let you know it was a mistake." I blinked. "Wait, so you're telling me I was supposed to be invited all along?" "Yeah," she said. I'm really sorry for the confusion. Your sister just had a lot going on and I think she got overwhelmed with everything. She really wanted you there, but it seems there was some miscommunication. She asked me to let you know that she'd love for you and the kids to attend. I couldn't believe what I was hearing. A mistake? How could this have been a mistake when everything felt so calculated? But I didn't want to question it too much. Is she sure about this? I asked, my voice trembling slightly. Because last time I heard from her, it didn't sound like she wanted us there. I know. She's been really stressed, but she definitely wants you at the wedding. She's just been under a lot of pressure. I felt a mixture of relief and disbelief. Was I really going to go? After everything, after what she had said to me? I'll call her to confirm, but thank you for reaching out, Emma, I said, still trying to process everything. You're welcome, she replied, and then the line went quiet. I sat there stunned. Could this really be happening? Was my sister genuinely making an effort to fix things? Or was this just another attempt to make herself look good without actually owning up to what she'd done? Before I could process it any further, my phone rang again. It was my sister. I stared at the screen for a moment before answering. Hello? I said, still uncertain of what I was about to hear. Laura, I'm so sorry. I didn't handle things the right way. Emma told me she spoke to you. Her voice was soft, apologetic, but I could hear the tremor in it. I was so caught up in everything and I didn't know how to fix it. I messed up. I didn't say anything for a few seconds, letting her words hang in the air. It was hard to believe after everything that had happened. I'm glad you called, I said, trying to keep my voice steady. But it's not just about the guest list, Marie. It's about how you made me feel. How you made my kids feel. I know, she whispered. I didn't mean to hurt you, I swear. I was just scared. Scared of things not going perfectly, scared that something might go wrong, and I took it out on you and the kids. I was wrong. Her words didn't fix everything, but they were a start. And that was more than I'd gotten from her in a long time. I don't know what to say, I replied honestly. I don't know if I can just forget what happened. I don't expect you to, she said quickly. But I do want to make it right. Please come. I want you to be there. I thought about it for a long time. I didn't know if I was ready to just forgive her, but maybe, just maybe, there was a chance for us to move forward. Okay, I said slowly. We'll come. But I'm not doing this just for the wedding. I need us to work through this, Marie. I want that too, I promise, she said, relief flooding her voice. I'll be waiting for you. I hung up the phone, unsure of what would happen next, but one thing was clear. This was just the beginning of fixing something that should never have been broken in the first place. The wedding day arrived with a strange mix of excitement and dread in the air. I had decided to go mainly for the sake of my kids, but also because, despite everything, my sister was still my sister. And maybe, just maybe, we could start to rebuild what had been broken. I spent hours getting the kids ready. My daughter, Sophie, looked adorable in her little floral dress, and my son, Alex, was in his miniature tuxedo, though he looked more like he was playing dress-up than actually attending a formal event. I couldn't help but smile as they fidgeted, their excitement palpable. When we arrived at the venue, it was grand, everything I had imagined for my sister's wedding. White roses, fairy lights, elegant tables set for what seemed like hundreds of guests. I stood in the parking lot, holding Sophie's hand, with Alex tugging at my sleeve as we all stared at the entrance. Are you sure about this, Mom? Sophie asked, her big brown eyes looking up at me with a mix of curiosity and concern. I knelt down to her level. I'm sure, sweetheart. But remember, we have to be on our best behavior today, okay? She nodded seriously. I'll be good. I promise. Good. I smiled, brushing a stray lock of hair from her face. We walked inside, and the first thing I noticed was the tension in the air. There was no warm greeting from my sister, no big hug or tearful reunion like I had expected. In fact, she barely acknowledged us when we entered. She was busy with her bridesmaids, all bustling around her in their perfectly coordinated dresses. I could see her glance over at us briefly, her eyes flicking to the kids and then quickly away. But she didn't come over. She didn't approach us. The only person who did was Emma, the wedding planner, who smiled warmly and directed us toward our seats. As I sat down, I noticed that there was an empty chair beside me. But it didn't feel empty in the way I had hoped. It felt isolating, like there was a barrier between us, one that couldn't be crossed so easily. I tried to focus on the kids, making sure they weren't too noisy, but I could feel the eyes of other guests on us. Every now and then, I'd catch someone glancing our way, some with looks of curiosity, others with disapproval. Finally, the ceremony started. I had to force myself to stay calm as the music played and my sister walked down the aisle in her beautiful white dress. She looked stunning as expected. But even as she stood there, saying her vows, I couldn't help but feel a pang of sadness. She was there, living her dream while I was just a spectator.